to your Joyful Riches podcast, where you gain precious tips and tools for creating a beautiful, thriving life for yourself and your loved ones and your community. Because we all deserve to be happy, healthy, wealthy, as individual and as a whole. And this podcast is delivered alongside G100 Global Networking Community, as well as the powered by Anchor FM. And for today, for this week, we're so honored and very thrilled to have Professor Reyes Castillo Fernández with us. Professor, thank you so much for joining us today. Would you care to share a little more about you? What is it that you do? What are some of your focus and specialties?
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you very much for those ones that are listening to us. And I'm based in Spain, but I've lived in many other countries, and I like to see the world through the eyes, thanks to other colleagues that lives all around the world. I've been working for many years already with addressing issues very much linked to EU policies and social policies, and in particular working with vulnerable groups such as migrants, refugees, or trafficked women. Thanks to that expertise, I had the chance to look on issues as important values, or how we look into values within the different societies and different groups of people, or when looking into values, how ethics, or what means ethics, or what may mean ethics at different scenarios.
Oh, that is so wonderful and full of wisdom. And so share with us, is that something that you always have? You said you've worked with a lot of different groups and traveled the world. And is that something when you grow up has always been your passion? Or it's something that because it just comes to you? How did you end up doing what is it that you do and have this opportunity to serve people in such beautiful way?
I would say first of all, traveling. Traveling was my motto. What took me when I was very young, when I had a lot of energy. Maybe when I did not know yet what really I wanted to do, this kind of practical thing to do. But I knew I needed to see the world, to know people, to learn languages, to travel around. Took me certain years that I was just traveling around the world a lot. Meanwhile, I was taking different jobs or positions, depending on the money I needed, depending on or the people I came across. Thanks to that, when professional life start being more serious, let's say like that, I end up living in South America, in Argentina, in concrete. And even though at that time I was working more into, let's say, private companies, banks, or that type of activity, because I do have a legal background, but I always say it's just a background. And living in South America opened me the eyes to what means a serious level of vulnerability for certain human beings. Then there was a point I decided to make it more than a voluntary work. I decided to change the voluntary work for my work. And I came back to Europe, and I remember my first interview that somebody asked me why you think that you are like the key for this position. And it was an organization working on migration. And I said, I don't know many theories yet about migration, but I've been a migrant for many years. And I had the capacity. And I don't know why, but that was a click. And I started working with them. And it was for many years a wonderful experience that gave me the chance to travel around Europe again, but in a professional, way. That's the mix.
Wow, that is amazing. I love that. Many of our audience here have a passion. They have a passions that might be from childhood, then might the passions that might discover, and our community here has so many people who says, I would love to do that. Or, well, I'm doing this as a volunteer, as you say, or even as a side things. And at the same time, they would love to be able to do this full time, to dedicate their life to this. And there is, like you said, oh, the practicalities. I wouldn't possibly do that, and all these things and so forth. And you are a beautiful example of it's your passion. You always said you love traveling. You want to see the world, and so you do what is it that you need to do as you find your way, and now you serve in such a magnificent way. So from all your travel and living in all these different part of the world, and seeing, I would say, many different society, would you care to share several tips and tools for in two way? The first way would be, what are some of the things for people excuse me what are some of the tools and tips for people in creating harmonies for our society with so many different cultures? What are some of the things that you think link everybody and every society at the end, at the bottom of it?
I think it's very complex, but I could say that I remember once that I have those kind of moments in life, like ski, that you change from one thing to the other, and I go back to the example of migration. I start working on migration and development, international development. And everybody was asking me, are you traveling abroad again? And at that time, because of my personal life, I wanted to stay in Spain and in Europe. And I said, no, I'm not going to go very far away. I'm going to work within my neighborhood, within my province. Just I'm going to look what's going on just side by side myself. And I think we often go very fast. We don't even know where we live. How is our community? Maybe we don't need to go very far just to know what is needed around. For me, it's very difficult always, but I always insist to my kid that she needs to learn how to listen, and we forget that. Yesterday night, I was watching on TV a documentary, and I like it. And it was a woman, one of the first prime ministers of New Zealand. And she was asked, challenges and how she felt and how she approached. And she repeat, kindness. You need to look at people and be kind. Don't forget that, because we are human. And then from that bottom up, maybe you will find the responses. And I would say it's very difficult, but there are many, many things we can do very close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Sometimes we think so much out there, while there is a well-known author named Napoleon Hill that who also says you if your vision's out there, that's great, but look right where you are. Oftentimes you have more opportunity and resource, the opportunity to serve and resource and do that with and listen. Being a grief specialist, that is something that many people come and say, I felt unheard, and also kindness. I was speaking with somebody the other day about technology and artificial intelligence and so forth, which is wonderful in many ways. And I think that one of the things that make us human is our ability, is our heart and our ability to be kind. So that is so wonderful. Let me ask you, with all this everything that you have seen and have experienced, are there a certain tools and wisdom that you would love to share for our community who are varied from some very well-established professional? What about people who are in those positions where they've been working very hard, such as the vulnerable groups, where they've been working very hard, they do their very best, and they seems to not get anywhere. What are some of the message that you might want to share with them?
I don't know. I could say it may be very basic, but we cannot do everything. We cannot be, I think maybe just this kind of step by step. I don't mean not to be ambitious, but I think we have to enjoy what we do, because sometimes it's just we spend like what we are going to do in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, but we are here, we are now, and maybe it's not a lot. For example, I don't know, I can think in Europe, it's in the world, but Ukrainian crisis, all the women, mainly, for example, because of the percentage of women suffering from that horrible humanitarian crisis, and all the countries. It's a lot. It's, I always said that I would love not to have work, not to have to be taking care of these issues, but it's part of our society. I think there is example. I think we have, maybe I'm very much influenced by my maternity period at that moment. And we can spend many words, but example is stronger. We always have somebody looking at us in the way we behave, in what we said, in why we've decided to put our time and money on that and not the other. And just that. But I think that it's very important. You never know. My mother always said, you never know who is looking at you. But it's like, it's a lot of pressure. But I mean, you can look it in a different way. And it's like, it's be ourselves, but be responsible. And, we mention values and ethics. Everybody have their own priorities, and it's perfect. Every society, every person at different moments in life, but be coherent. I mean, be coherent and think twice and learn from your experience and learn from your practices. I mean, for example, I'm going to say in another way, working on human rights, I many times have the discussion, for example, with people with a different background, but my family had a small business, nothing related with human rights defenders, nothing like that. Private business, family, And sometimes in the human rights world, I came across people, no, because people with private company, like criticizing. And I said, we all play a role. We are all necessary. It's like, try to do what you do best, or at least learn how to do it. But, oh no, my approach in life has been always a step by step, because I always make a lot of mistakes. And it's like, okay, then I learn and I change and keep on.
That is wonderful. That you say that I that is great that that you go step by step and you feel or that you make mistakes, but it's human actually to make mistakes, and you just go step by step and keep going, and it does, even if you don't know where it's going to lead you. We have a short conversations earlier just now on how you, and I think, and just like you shared, sometimes people are so looking at something in one way, as you said, in the humanitarian work, they look at the business people, they're like, oh, those business people, right? and then the business one, they're like, oh my God, all those ecosystem people, oh my goodness,
That's it.
Exactly, and at the end of the day, share with our audience what you shared with me, something about if somebody knocking on your door, open it or something.
Yeah, because somebody that we know both told me once that if you go into a bookshop, into a library, and you happen to hold a book and not another one, and you open it, maybe there is a reason for that. Maybe there is a reason for you to read that at that moment. Maybe there is a door or somebody that you need to listen. And I would take, for example, in that previous conversation, you said something that I'm going to think about. You said sometimes we need to look into how we are going to move forward, but sometimes it's very important to learn where we came from. This thing about history that I said, the world is the human history is full of mistakes that we repeat, but sometimes we've learned, and at least it's worth to look back. Thanks. I'm going to take that.
Thank you. Yes, that's very true. That it's important to look forward, but also it's important to, from time to time, to look back and see what lessons we have learned, and also, as I think I was saying, as Steve Jobs says, you cannot. Often you cannot connect the dot looking forward, but you can always connect the dots looking back, and that's, as you say, if somebody come on your door, somebody has a different opinions, instead of immediately say, oh my goodness, and then says, let's see what's about that. Maybe there is something in there, some opportunity that takes you for yourself, travel the world and do the work you want when you want it. There are times you want to stay home, you stay home. That is beautiful. Yeah. How do if people learn more about your wisdoms and connect with you, how do people connect with you? Are you available on LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn, I have to recognize, it's been more updated social network. It's true that I'm in the process. Still, it's not available in English, but it will come soon. It's in process. there will be a web page that is called socialfundingconsulting.com. That's very soon we'll have updated information in English. It's true that is more an approach, like I could say business approach, like consultancy, offering my services. But I had the impression it will change on the way.
Yeah.
I had that feeling. Yeah.
And it is it's the social funding consultancy.com. So is it in Spanish?
For the moment, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
mm-hmm.
For our audience, you might have already know, but if you don't, regardless of what language the website is, if you wish to, when you open it on Google platform, you can ask the magnificent internet, thankfully, immediately translate it to your language. It might, some word might be a little bit off, but I've traveled quite many countries. It has even translated Hebrew. So
wow, it's true that I'm going to use that more because I haven't done it yet. And I'm going to be much more aware of it for the update, because the webpage for the moment is very much like draft. And it's true that, for example, LinkedIn, I've been more like active, and it's a place easy for whoever would like to contact me.
Yeah.
And but it's true that maybe I had the feeling that I needed a space different and see how it evolves.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Professor. As we complete our conversations today, do you have one final message for our audience, for them as an individual or in creating a thriving community?
It's true that I love the opportunity to be part of this network that is, at least, is not a stop men from being part, but it's like looking at women or empowering women. And I don't know why, I'm in a moment that I like that. And I think we still need to work our way in the world to see, like, for the best of all. And let's say that I would like to focus on that for a while. Mm-hmm. And vulnerability. I love that word, because even though I've worked with different, like, particular groups, as I said, I always come back to that. We are more mixed, and we have, like, in one person, we have many aspects. Then I think I'm going to continue working close to those ones that may be suffering in a more vulnerable way. At least I feel I do something. That's my feeling at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes, the work is not done. Whichever life is about continuing to grow and to progress and to endeavor. It's not perfections. We make mistakes, but the work is not done. And so if you are listening to this, for the audience listening to this, and you feel called to join professors in her work for a different community, vulnerable communities, and also love to know her wisdom more and have her as a consultant, please do connect with her. And this is delivered with the G100 Global Networking, which is a global community. So if you feel called to know more about our missions and visions and how you could contribute to the work in a way that you love it and for our society and humanity, feel welcome to connect with professors or with me as well. And thank you so much, Professor. And this is such a beautiful conversation. Thank you. Thank you. And for our audience, thank you for joining us today. And please share one or two tips that you gain, one or two words of wisdom that you gain in the comment below, so we can continue to learn from each other, and even more importantly, to share this message with your friend and family, because you never know who has somewhere deep in their heart this passion, but they've been holding it back, and they can see and hear a beautiful example and wisdom on how they will be able to live their passions and bringing good to many in while doing that as well. And this is Dr. BirgitteTan, your grief specialist for individual and businesses, and chairpersons of United States Global Networking G100 Old Ladies League. I thank you very much for joining us today, and I look forward to see you